Yes.
Okay. So until the last class, we have discussed the detailed classification of different engineering materials and how they are used to make different products. Next, we will move to the manufacturability of materials. So we'll see which properties of the material they influence the uh, of manufacturability of a product using that material. So if I want to summarize, this is basically the nutshell that it is the atomic structure of a particular material which ultimately influences the property of the material, and the properties basically which are manifested by a material, they decide if the material is can be manufactured, or the product using that material can be manufactured using a specific process or not. For example, like we discussed that the metals, they essentially have a very good malleability and ductility. This means they can be easily drawn into wires or hammered into sheets because of the atomic structure, because of the bonding which is present. So what they can do is they can take this plastic deformation to a very large extent without essentially fracturing into pieces. So that is one of the example. So what we will see is how these different properties, they influence the manufacturability, the properties like strength. So as I already discussed, strength is basically the ability of an engineering material to take external load. Higher is the ability to take the external load, higher will be the strength. Next is hardness. So hardness is basically the resistance to scratching. So essentially, if two materials, they basically rub or they are in contact with each other, so generally the harder material will scratch the material which is relatively soft, and material will be removed. So that is the hardness. So more is the hardness, more is the resistance to scratching. Then toughness is basically how much energy can be absorbed. So more energy, if the material is able to absorb more energy, it is known to be more tough, and vice versa. Then melting point. So melting point is basically the temperature at which the phase change occurs from solid to liquid. Please excuse here there is a typo. Then is viscosity. Viscosity is the tendency to molten state. And then oxidation is there. So this is largely the tendency to form oxides. So several of the metals, they are prone to form oxides like aluminium. Aluminium is very much prone to form this aluminium oxide layer. And then there are metals which do not form oxides that easily. So why we are discussing these things? So one thing here is to be very sure of what each of these terms means. So don't confuse hardness with strength or strength with toughness. All these terms are different and they indicate a different parameter. So as we discussed in the beginning, we are discussing the manufacturing or product realization technologies. So in most of the manufacturing process, there are two external components which play a very important role. One is heat and another is force. So what you will observe as we go ahead in each of the manufacturing process, either there will be role of heat, or there will be role of force, or there will be processes which combine the action of heat and force. So essentially what you are doing is, by doing this applying heat or force, if you remember the beginning slide of this module, you're converting a raw material into a finished product, which is basically fulfilling the customer's requirement. So all these properties like strength, hardness, toughness, they essentially deal with the role of force, how much force will be applied. So that is why the role of force is there. And all these type of properties essentially are influenced by the amount of heat, or I can say elevated temperature, which is there. So in any manufacturing process, essentially we are dealing with heat or force, which is applied on this raw material to convert it into a finished product. So now I will show some interesting graphs, different properties, different parameters. So the first graph is here, that is plotted between the density of the material and the strength. So strength here is measured in megapascals. So this is similar to the unit of pressure, but now you understand the pressure and strength, they are different. So strength here is plotted with density, and what we see here is different colored bubbles. So these bubbles basically classify different categories of engineering materials like foams. Then we have some natural materials, which include wood. We have some polymers and elastomers. We have composites. We have ceramics. We have metals. So essentially what is there, we are basically classifying the same category of engineering materials that we have discussed in the previous lectures, that engineering materials are broadly classified in metal, polymer and ceramic, and then we have hybrid materials like composites, foams and all. So what is shown here, please take care of this graph. So this graph is not on a linear scale, but is on a log scale. This means by moving by every point, basically the value changes logarithmically on the x and y axis. So this log scale graph is plotted in order to show the relative variation between the properties. If we plot a linear scale graph, perhaps it will be too big to accommodate in a compact way. So what we are showing here, that foams are there. So foams are materials like sponge. So these are basically materials having very porous structure. So these type of materials, they generally have very low strength comparatively to say metals, and at the same time their density is also very low. As we move ahead, so natural materials, to the natural materials shown by this green bubble. Some mic is unmuted. Varinder. Yeah. So if you see here, this bubble basically shows us about the natural material like wood. So their density is slightly higher because we have moved here, and at the same time there is on a higher value. Now if we talk of polymers, so the strength of wood may be slightly better than some of the polymers, but the density is definitely less, but they have a comparable value of strength. Then we have the ceramics. Sorry, we'll discuss the composites. So composites are basically shown here using this purple colored circle. So these composites, they have a strength value which is higher than the some values of wood or some polymers, and their strength is also very high. Why I am saying very high? Because you may appear this distance may appear small, but please consider this is a log scale. Then we have ceramics. So ceramics is shown using this yellow colored circle, in which the density increases and the strength also increases. And lastly, we have the metals. So what you can observe, that metals, they have very high density because of the closely packed atoms, which are arranged in a crystalline or a periodic manner. And at the same time, the density, higher density with higher strength. So we have discussed material like composites and ceramics, which are there, which show the relatively equal strength compared to the metals, but the density is quite less. So this is what is the inference of this graph, that for different applications, we have to select different type of materials, and this is just one comparison of strength and density. And inside each of this circle, there are some white colored circles which show specific materials. Like in metals, this is the for the copper alloys. So the alloys may have a lot of variation because of the added elements. So, but this graph is just to give us a relative idea where is the standing of each material with respect to their strength and density. Similarly, we have which shows us the maximum service temperature. So what is this maximum service temperature? So maximum service temperature is the temperature at which the product which is made of this material can act as a or can provide service. So if you make a product, for example, if I make a spoon which is made up of say any polymer, I am using that spoon to cook food. So what is going to happen? The spoon which is made up of a plastic material, say a thermoplastic material, will definitely get melted when I use it for cooking food, because the temperature which is required to cook food may be higher than the melting point of that polymer. That is why it will not be advisable, or that material will not be suitable to make a spoon for cooking food. But definitely I can have a polymer material which may be used to eat that food which may not be at that high temperature. So you can understand that the service of different products will be depending on the application. So here also we have the same classification as discussed earlier. We have metals, we have polymers, we have ceramics and hybrids. So hybrids will include all the foams, composites, natural materials. So if we see maximum service temperature, so this value ranges from 500, 1000, 1500 and 2000 degrees centigrade. So tungsten alloys which are placed here, they have a very high service temperature of close to 1400 degrees centigrade. What is important to remember here, that service temperature, if this is the T service, is always going to be less than T melting point. The service temperature will never be equal to the melting point. It will be several degrees less, several thousand or 100 degrees less than the melting point of that material. Similarly, we have the superalloys. So if you remember, superalloys are basically mixture of 10 or more elements which provide very superior properties. Properties like to retain their strength and hardness at elevated temperature. And then similarly, we have other materials like steel or aluminum, carbon steel, or other materials which you can see. Then we have polymers. So in polymers, we have this PTFE, silicon, polypropylene, polyethylene. So all these you will see the service temperature is certainly less than 500 degrees centigrade. Then we have ceramics. So ceramics, as we read, they are very stable at high temperature. So their service temperature is even higher than the service temperature of several metals, which include silicon carbide, aluminum nitride, boron carbide, aluminum. That is why in several high temperature applications, the ceramics, they are used a lot. Then we have the hybrid materials, so where we have ceramic foams. So these foams are made up of ceramic material but are having very large number of pores. Then we have the other composite materials which are say polymer based composites like carbon fiber, glass fiber, wood, etc. Because in this case the matrix is essentially a polymer, so their service temperature is less than 500 degrees centigrade. So what is the nutshell or the crux of this graph? That if you are making a product for a specific application, it is very important to know what will be the service temperature of that product. As I gave the example of a spoon, so that is why the service temperature of the product is very important to know. Once we know what will be the service temperature, so then we can select the appropriate material to give the product its required service life. So next is basically a very important property of comparison, that is between the hardness and the strength of the material. So hardness, as I mentioned earlier, it is basically a property in which what we do is it is a resistance to scratch or the ability to resist scratching between different materials. So how this hardness is measured? So hardness is measured using a hardness tester, which basically gives a number to different material, and that number is basically a relative indication of its hardness. Now, there are several scales which are available to measure hardness. Some of them are like Rockwell C scale, Rockwell A scale, Vickers scale, and Mohs scale. So these scales, what they do is typically they have an indenter. So these indenter basically what they do is they indent the material, means they press the material if this is the material surface. So what you are doing is basically you are indenting this material. So this indenter is made up of a very hard material, say diamond or some other very hard synthetic diamond. So indenter will be indent a material with a force. So there will be some force which will be applied on this indenter. So this will basically leave a mark on the surface. So it will leave a mark on the surface, say this type of a rhombus shape mark. So indenter is a hard object with a specific shape which is pressed on the surface. And when what you do is, suppose I am giving here example of a Vickers test. So what you get this type of indent, and by measuring the dimensions of this indent, we can get a relative number or a Vickers hardness number. So if this indent will be small, higher will be the hardness value, because the indenter is not able to plastically deform the material. So smaller the indent, higher will be the hardness value. So that is how it goes. And if you generally compare the strength of different materials with the hardness, so there is a direct correlation. Generally, harder materials, they exhibit higher strength, and vice versa, because the higher strength comes from a densely packed structure, and that also helps to have a very high value of hardness as well. So please understand here, the hardness and strength are two different things, but are directly correlated in most of the engineering materials. Next is a very important criteria of selecting any material for any product. It is the price. Because in making any product, the most important or the most significant component that comes into play is the price of the raw material. Now, this graph basically gives us a relative, a very important relative uh, picture how the cost of different materials is placed relative to each other and across different categories. Again, we have the categories with us like metals, polymers, ceramics, and hybrids. So we have in metals like titanium alloys, tungsten alloys. So these are some of the most expensive materials. So any product which is made up of say titanium alloys or tungsten alloys, nickel alloys, it is going to cost a lot. And as you move down, so we have these aluminum alloys, low carbon steel, cast iron, so cheap materials. So when you are making any product, so you have to optimize different aspects like strength, hardness, service temperature, price, and then you have to select the best material for that product. It is not that other materials may not make that product, but there is a very important factor of cost which is involved, because you may end up making a very nice product, but what is going to happen if the product is very expensive, perhaps you will not find a very wide market to sell it off to the customer. Similarly, we have polymers. So where we have these type of high performance polymers like PEEK or PTFE, which are very expensive, and then we have very cheap polymers like polypropylene. So their cost is significantly less. Similarly, in ceramics, we have the concrete, which is one of the most cheap ceramic, and then we have other ceramics like glasses and all, and aluminum nitride, boron carbide and all, which are very expensive. So any product which utilizes these type of ceramic materials, you can very well understand the cost is going to be very high. Lastly, in hybrids, we have the composites and foams. and then we have these natural materials. So most of these composite materials are placed at a uh, higher limit of cost, because if you remember, in composite you have a fiber and you have a matrix. So producing both of these things separately will also incur a cost component. So that is why the when you add up both of these things to give a composite material, so definitely the cost of that composite is going to be very high. So that is why this is one of the reason in several of the metals, let's say stainless steel, it is costing less compared to these ceramics, considering the price per kilogram is here on the log scale. So this is not just a linear scale. So the cost may almost 10 or maybe 80 times the cost of stainless steel, just for the sake of comparison. So with this, very important background of the different engineering materials, their properties, their specific, then the criteria to select these different materials, we are ready to go ahead on the manufacturing processes, which we are going to study in bit detail in the coming modules in this course. So if I see the manufacturing processes, so manufacturing processes are the processes which convert a raw material into a product, which basically completes the need, or it is as per the need or requirement of the customer. So these manufacturing processes, they are a lot of processes. They are not just few processes, but I can say there may be more than 100 processes under different types. So essentially, these manufacturing processes are classified as primary process, or also known as the shaping processes, and we have secondary processes. So secondary processes, they include in them joining and surface treatment as well, but there may be some books in which they may be classified separately. But broadly, I can classify manufacturing processes as primary processes or secondary processes. So primary process and secondary process. So what are these? So primary processes are processes through which each and every material or product you see around yourself, it it may have undergone under the primary process at some point or the another. So first, the primary process will give some basic shape to the product, and later on we may have a particular other set of processes which may be used to create a whole, and then we can go ahead to maybe say join it, provide it some surface finishing and all. So this is basically the broad classification of manufacturing processes. In the scope of this course, we may be studying some of them, so it is impossible to cover all of them, but definitely we are going to cover some of them in the quite detail in this course, and you will see that how these processes, they basically are used to create different products. And once all the students they come back to the campus, so you will also have a lab for some of them processes. So in the lab, basically you will be able to see the actual, or you may be able to do the actual experiment with different processes upon your return to the campus. So I will just give a overview of today, and we will start with the casting methods first. We can see, I can say if we can start it today or maybe in the next lecture. So as and when we go into different processes, you will realize that what are the different details of this process. So if essentially I want to classify, so manufacturing process, there are two categories: primary processes and secondary processes. Any raw material, to make the product of this raw material, what we are going to do is it is going to undergo first the primary processes, then the secondary processes, before you end up with a product. So what is going to happen, that we are going to just give you an overview of different processes today, just a very basic idea what it is, and then in the subsequent modules we'll study these things in detail. So first process is the casting process. So casting is a very primary manufacturing process which has been used from a very long time. So I can say it dates back to almost 4000 BC that casting has been used. So what is casting? So casting is essentially what you are doing in casting. Basically, you have a crucible in which you melt metal. So casting processes, they are largely used for metal based products. What you are doing is you are melting metal, and then what you are doing is you pour this metal into a mold which has a cavity inside. So you create this mold with a cavity, you pour this molten metal, and when this molten metal it enters this cavity, you allow this metal to solidify. Once the metal will solidify, it will take the shape of that mold, and once the solidification is complete, you will remove the metal from this mold and you will get a product. So casting, the basic philosophy of the casting process, it remains same, and then there are variants to this process. Variants as in like we have die casting, we have investment casting, we have low pressure casting. So in what is there in die casting, you have these molds which are there in the form. So these are the dies. Basically, dies are basically the products which have these cavities cut into it. And when you join two dies, basically you create a hollow cavity in which you can plunge or push the molten metal inside. And then you allow the metal to solidify. Upon solidification, you use the ejector pins to remove the material. Then you have investment casting, where you have these wax patterns to create the cavity. You have low pressure casting, where a low pressure is used to basically get the material into the mold. So these are just the different types of processes we will study in detail in the subsequent module. But what is the nutshell? You have molten material, which is molten metal. You pour it in the mold, you allow it to solidify, and once it is solidified, you remove the solidified part from the mold. Then next category of processes are the forming processes. So forming processes are processes which are a shaping process. It is also a shaping process, a primary process. But in this case, we don't have any melting. We don't have any molten objects to deal with. But essentially here, what we are doing is the shaping is essentially done by application of force. So what is done here, you have two dies. Suppose you have a lower die, you have an upper die. You place the raw material or workpiece in between. You apply pressure, or you apply force here. And when you apply force, what is going to happen? This workpiece material which is in between these two dies, it will be getting plastically deformed. Please remember here, you are plastically deforming it to take the shape of this die. So what you have changed is basically you have basically what is done is basically we have changed the shape of the workpiece to take the shape of the die. So this is the example of the forging process. Next is the rolling process, where you have these type of rolls. You provide the material from one side, and at the other end, what is going to happen? The shape, the material is going to take the shape of these rolls, and since the shape is getting changed, so this is plastically changing. So this means even when you force or you open the die, it is going to stay in the deformed shape. So it is not going to basically go back to the original shape. Then you have extrusion. So extrusion is a process like you push the material outside this opening. This is like you have, similar to how you extract toothpaste from the toothpaste tube. So you have an opening and you push the material from one end. So at the other end you have a very confined opening, which is basically the example of an extrusion process. And the spinning process, where you have a thin sheet which is revolving, and then by applying pressure using this tool, you can deform the shape of the this sheet to give it different shapes. So that is essentially what you are doing in all these cases. You are basically applying force to plastically deform the material by taking the shape of the die or other products. Next are the machining processes. So machining processes, these are come in the category of secondary processes. And if I say this process is a subtractive process. So why this process is subtractive process? Because in this process we are removing excess material. Excess material is getting removed from the product. So removing of this excess material is going to produce these chips. So these chips, when these are produced, so this basically they waste. And how to remove material? So to remove material, basically we need to have a cutting tool. We need to have this workpiece, and by providing this relative motion between the cutting tool and the workpiece, so we are able to remove material in the form of chips. So there is a wide variety of machining processes available. Some schematics are shown here, like turning, which is used for cylindrical parts to remove material. So what he essentially is doing, the diameter is getting reduced. Then you have the drilling. So drilling process is used to create holes. You have milling, which is basically again to remove excess material using a different shaped cutter. So on all these cases, what you will observe, there is a tool, there is a piece. So in this case, to remove material from the workpiece, the hardness of the tool has to be higher than the hardness of the workpiece. So tool hardness has to be higher than the hardness of the workpiece. So this is very similar to as you are cutting vegetable using the knife. If the knife is not hard, so instead the vegetable may break the knife. But here you can just imagine this tool as the knife and the workpiece as, say, some vegetables. So that is the analogy how the machining processes they go about. And then there are processes like joining processes, very important processes. The joining processes are basically, as the name itself is indicating, they are basically used to join two or more materials. So we have wide variety of processes like which use adhesives. So this is similar as you use the Fevikwik to join it. So there are some industrial grade adhesives which are applied and then they are cured. We have fasteners. So fasteners can be in the form of screw, rivets, snap fits, staples and all. So these may be temporary or semi-permanent joints. Then we have welding processes. In this, we will study in detail, in which we have a arc or generally a source of heat, maybe a gas flame or an electron beam or a laser beam, which is basically used to elevate materials temperature and cause fusion. So here the important term is fusion, where the materials are metallurgically bonded. Or you may have some hot bar polymer welding processes. These are only restricted to the polymer type of materials. So this welding is more popular for metals. And with these fasteners, you may even have hybrid type of welding. Means you can join polymer to metal or maybe ceramic, etc. This basic, introduction to different processes, we wind up this first module of this course. So I will stop here for today, and now I can take up a few questions from your end. And in the next class, we will start with the first module, that is the casting module. So I have already uploaded this casting,